Hi class, it's Miss Ingham. You have your attempt 2 of Algebra, Simplify, and Solve today. So we're going to do a little bit of review so you guys can get ready for the test, feel confident, and hopefully everyone's going to do well. So the first problem, we're going to practice solving for x. So I will do an example. Let's say we have something like this. 4 times 2x plus 3 equals 8x minus 4 minus 4x. So I'll go through this pretty quickly. The first thing we want to do is know how to distribute. So that would give us 8x plus 12 equals 8x minus 4 minus 4x. We can combine these two things. These are like terms, right? Our x's over here. So on this side we now have 4x minus 4 equals 8x plus 12. Now I have my like terms, my x's. So I'll move those onto the same side. Subtract 4x from here, subtract 4x from here, make my t. That gives me 4x plus 12 equals negative 4. And now I just need to move my other terms over, right? The 12 and the 4 I can combine. So I'll take away 12, take away 12. I get 4x equals negative 16. When I go to undo the multiplication by 4, I divide both sides by 4, and I'm left with x equals negative 4, right? Common mistake to not pay attention to the negatives. In the last test, I saw a lot of people who something happened with the negatives in the very last step, and you won't get the right answer if you do that. So please pay careful attention to those negatives. All right, why don't you try one on your own? Here's the problem I would like you to solve. 5 plus 3, draw a line here, times 2x, oops, take that back, 4x minus 7 equals negative 4 minus 6x. Pause the video, spend a couple minutes solving this, isolating x, and see what you get. All right, my final answer was x equals 2, so check your work. If you didn't get that, you can look through my steps here and hopefully you can find your mistake. Ask your neighbor if you feel like you made a mistake and you can't find it. We're going to go on to another example where we actually have to factor a quadratic. All right, so I'm going to scroll up. You can pause the video if you feel like you want to have more time to look at this example and get clarity on solving for x. So the quadratic example we'll go through is 2, whoops, let me change my color here. 2x squared minus 13x minus 7 equals 0. And my task is, remember, solve for x, right? So it's not just enough to factor. My final answer should look like x equals a number, all right? So I'm first going to know, I know that I do have to factor this, right? I'm looking for those x-intercepts. So I'm going to draw my box, get set up here, and draw my diamond. I'll put 2x squared here, and across from it, negative 7. To fill out the top of my box, I'll multiply those two things, and that'll give me negative 14x squared. On the bottom, I'll take my b term and put negative 13x. I'll look for two things that multiply to negative 14x squared and sum to negative 13x. And I know that because these two numbers are so close together, and I know my factors, that it's going to have to be 14x and 1x, and more than that, negative 14x and positive 1, because that's going to get me to the negative 13x that I need. So I go back into my box and I fill that in. All right, once I have it filled in, I know that I'm going to have to put my 2x here, and I ask myself 2 times what gives me negative 14. So I know that's going to be negative 7. 2x times x gives me 2x squared, and then x times 1 is going to give me 1x. Now that I have my factors, I can write this in factored form. Set it equal to 0, right? Just like we have up here, we have to carry down the equal 0. It still equals 0. And then we'll apply the 0 product property and set each one of these factors equal to 0. And solve. So in one case, I'm going to get x equals positive 7. In the other case, I'm going to get x equals negative 1/2, right? I subtract 1 from both sides and divide by 2. And that's my final answer. I'm going to have you try one on your own. So I'll draw this line again. The problem I'd like you to give to try is solving for x. So you're going to need to factor. X squared plus 15 equals 8x. Now notice it looks different than this original equation that we had. How can you rewrite this equation to get everything on the left side and have that set that equal to 0, right? So if you need a clue, think about subtracting 8x from both sides and rewriting it as something equal to 0. I'm going to pause the video, take a couple of minutes to solve this problem, use the box and diamond method, and then you can check your work. All right, so my final answers here are x equals 5 and x equals 3. This is a little bit hard to see. I can rewrite this. All right, and that means that the parabola crosses the x-intercept at 5 and 3. And I use my box and diamond method here. I factored, and then I applied the 0 product property. So pause this video if you need time to look at the steps and just verify that you have all of the correct steps and that you haven't made any mistakes. Again, ask your neighbor or look at my work if you do feel like you've made a mistake and you're not sure what happened. All right, we're going to do one quick practice problem for equivalent expressions. To give you a little bit of a reminder of what those look like when we're doing them in math. Oops. Okay, so let's look at two expression. Let's say you have x minus 2 squared plus 3, and you're trying to decide if that is equivalent to, let's say, x squared plus 4x plus 6, right? Now, since these are in two different forms, it's a lot harder to decide if they are equivalent. So our one strategy would be to get them in the same form, right? This is in graphing form. We might want to try to get this into standard form, like it is over here, so we can really verify if they're the same. So I would rewrite this so that it's easier to FOIL, right, or distribute, and then start the simplifying steps. So pause this video right now, see if you can simplify this expression, and then make a decision about whether or not those two expressions are indeed equivalent, or maybe you decide that they are not. Okay, so I went through these steps. I did my FOILing, I combined all my like terms, and as you can see, I've decided that these are not equivalent, right? I have negative 4x here, positive 4x here, positive 7, positive 6. The areas are very unequivalent, and the graph for these functions would also not look the same. So that's how I've decided. I hope this helped you feel like you're more ready for the test. Please just do your absolute best on the test. Remember, if you do not pass this time, come see me, we'll practice, and we'll get you ready to pass. All right, good luck, everyone. I'll see you soon.